Ciao, dear ones. I am so grateful that you decided to stop by the studio today and watch me bring my Frankenstein journal to life. We're going to have so much fun doing that. But first, we have lots of new people visiting. And so I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Caterina. All my friends call me Kat. My husband Don Digison and I started this channel about 3 years ago. And so we just want to welcome you here, and we want to say thank you in advance of your subscriptions, your shares, your thumbs up, all your comments. Thank you. And there are 3 ways that you can support us if you choose to do so. Directly below, you'll find a tip jar that we set up, and that's one way. The other way is by using our Amazon links and ordering a product that we recommend. And the third one is to go to my site, which Don will put on the screen for you, and just go right to the first page. It says 142 Bis Gallery. You could purchase a piece of my art, and we so appreciate your support. So thank you so much. So let's get started making a Frankenstein journal. Well, when you were here last time, I promised that I would share with you the way I treated this front cover. And if you remember, I put a clear gesso over the book, which gives it kind of a rough, grainy texture, but it's going to help keep the book intact. I decided that I just loved the way that the book said, the title of the book was French Cathedral Windows, and I knew I wanted to make a botanical book. So I thought it would really be fun to kind of play on that windows theme by using an antique photograph album page. And so this is Victorian scrap, and this is a piece that actually came from that old photograph album. And then these are antique buttons. They don't match, they're completely different, but they're so old and tarnished that you can't really tell that. These are the kind of buttons that have that little loop on the back. I hope you can see that. And they're old buttons. We don't make buttons with metal loops on them anymore, but they had big metal loops on the back. Probably came from some kind of uniform or something, and it fit perfectly inside the holes of this piece. So you want to look for these decorative pieces. I mean, they're just outstanding. This is my last piece, and I absolutely love it. So I poked it through there, poked it through this one, and then I glued them down. And I glued all of this together using gel medium. And then there's a coat of clear gesso, and then the way I got this, hope you can see the shine and the shimmer on this, is I used Omnigel, which is in our links. It's Omnigel, and it's a fabulous transfer medium, but it also gives things this wonderful glazed look. And of course it's archival, so it's going to be great. So you could use a heavy gloss medium. You could use Golden's gloss medium to get that effect too, but I had Omnigel and I just love it, so I used that. So that's how I did that. And then I wanted to share with you the inside. I've got a couple of botanicals finished. This one, hope you can see that one, and it's dimensional. It pops up, which is pretty cool. And then I have them hooked into the page with little antique page corners, so that if I decide to send this to my gallery, that people can purchase the piece and just frame it. So, and then this piece is finished too, and these are old botanicals that I did years and years ago. And they're covered with PVA. And then I'm going to go over and I'll put not gel matte medium, but I'll put clear gesso on top of them to hold everything down. So just loving the way it's turning out. Thought I would share that with you. And now let's get started on the new one. Okay, so this is the new Frankenstein string journal. And I had decided that I'm going to use this to do fabric and paper collage. And so as you see, I haven't gotten started on that yet. I thought I'd make one today on camera, and we're going to finish this up. And I decided that I made a bunch of decisions so that I didn't have to share every single thing in my closet with you today, like I usually do. So I decided that I had this piece of It's probably some scrapbooking paper, but I got it at an estate sale, so I really don't know what it is or how old it is or any of that. But I decided that it would be really cool to have this on the cover like this, and so I'm going to glue this down using gel matte medium. And I decided to use gel matte medium because PVA just takes so long to dry that sometimes, you know, we just have those issues. So I'm going to glue this down, and you're going to say, now, Kat, you've already glued this up and it's not going to match up. And I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to take my handy dandy palette knife and lift this up and poke it under. How cool will that be? Okay, so I am just using gel matte medium and my brush to poke it on here. Just a smattering, you don't need a whole lot. So I lifted this up, peeled it back, and then I'm just poking it back down there. So don't worry about things so much. You know, if you already have something glued down, pull it back. See, you know, see if you can do that. If you can't do that, then you come up with a different way. If they didn't meet up and I really wanted it to, I could just put a piece of trim over the top. So I mean, there's so many different ways you can come up with an embellishment to make it your own and not have to worry about it. You know, just don't allow creation to intimidate you. Just play with it, right? Just see what works for you. So, okay, we're gonna put this one down. We'll have the cover all finished and we'll come right back. I had that scrap of scrapbooking paper. That's a lot to say. And so I didn't have quite enough, so I went ahead and photocopied it. So these are photocopies. Now, if you're using real scrapbooking paper, if you have a lot of the same kind of paper or wrapping paper or whatever you want, it would probably go on just a little bit easier. I found this to be just a bit difficult to go down, but I think it's going to look absolutely splendid once we get it completely finished. And I'm just taking my sanding sponge, as you see, to get a nice edge just like we did on the inside. It's only going to take a minute for it to pop off here. And then you have the scraps that you can use for something else. There are a couple wrinkles, but they're going to come out completely once we get it all dry. Okay, so the front cover is done, back cover is done. And if you decide that you want to use some kind of paper with document text and you're not going to do anything else to the cover, remember you're going to have to line it up. But we're going to do something completely different to the cover. So we're going to add a book cover to it, because you know how I like chunky fronts. So it's got to be chunky. It's got to look kind of yummy and chunky and good. So I found this fabulous copy of Lippincott's home manual several years ago. And let me just remind you that if you find an old, wonderful, chippy book, make sure that you check eBay to see how much they're going for. When I first got this, it was about $3.50. It's like $30 now. But I have used it many, many times, gotten great good out of it, and it is super old, so that's fabulous. So we're going to use this book cover, and so what I did was I simply cut it out, and then this round part here in the center I ripped out, just completely cut that. And we're going to put this on the front because we know that we want to put some stitched and some fabric and some collage pieces, fabric and paper mixed in here. And I just thought this would look so cool, clothing for women in here. So now I've got the plan for this, but first what we're going to do is we're going to cover this up, because we want it to be finished and look really good. We want this edge to be rough, but we want this to be completely finished. So I decided that I would use this old piece of lace to cover this with. And instead of using it like this, I don't want that to be the story. I want the story to be in the center. So I made up some little bits, and we're going to decide which one we actually like. But that's what's going to be my focal point, not the lace. The other reason I decided to not use this and to use the little pointed like crown pieces to put that on the back is that I think it's going to hold a little bit better on the back too. So I know you would ask me that if I didn't tell you what I was doing. So I'm going to go ahead and put gel matte medium on the back fairly liberally. And then we're going to start here like this and glue that on. And once we get this adhered to the back, which is going to hold really well, I think, then we can do the front. Okay, so got the back glued down. I'll probably come back and hit it again with the gel matte medium. And now we're going to do the front. And I want to go gently. I don't want to rip the back off, but this is going to finish it off nicely. Okay, already looks good. Okay, so it's coming along really well. I really like the way this looks. I've got a pretty good coat of gel matte medium on there, and of course we're going to glue it down to the cover, so it's going to adhere even better. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to do, so you know how I love to stitch all those tiny little bits. And this is that little French book that we made a few weeks ago. And I've been pulling little stitches out here and there to use in different pieces of work. It's so fun to have this little sampler book. And so I stitched together some little bundles, and I love to do this. And so I've got these pieces all together. And I wanted to decide, which ones that I liked the best, because I want it to be about this marriage of fabric and paper. And I like this one a lot. I like this one too. It's got another little piece there, wispy. And if you're on social media, you saw this piece poked into the book, which I really like that one. I like this one too. I think this one doesn't make as much sense. No. Okay. So now these are stitched, and then some of them are glued. You can see that there's lots of stitches going on here. Some of them are pieces that I stitched all the way through and then stitched together. I mean, one of these days we're just going to have a stitch-a-thon, and I'll be stitching little pieces and you can be stitching little pieces, and we'll just have this wonderful meditative experience together. Okay, so I like both of them, but I think I love this one. So I think this is the one we're going to go with. Okay? All right, so we're going to put this aside. We've made a decision. Yay, I love decisions. And we might add a little piece of lace to that later, but I mean, it just makes sense to have this little antique bit of paper. And yes, I did cover it with gel matte medium. Okay, now to give it that chunky Frankenstein look, I have these old buttons, and they're navy buttons, which does nothing for me, even though my husband is an old Navy man, or young Navy man, or whatever. So I decided that they would be really fun on here, upside down, nice and chunky. Doesn't that look good? It's going to be nice and fat and kind of holds it all together. So what I did was I used a very heavy upholstery thread, and I just ran it through the holes, tied it in the back. So we had a little faux stitch going on here, and it'll look like we stitched through, but I don't want to stitch it through because I don't want to mar the inside of the journal. Now you could just do it to here, but I just figured why do that? Why not just do it like this? So I'm trying to decide which way I want it. This way, a plus or a cross. I think I like the plus. So we're going to do that. Okay, here we go. Last one. And I'm using a large amount of gel matte medium. And if you're worried about it sticking, you could use E6000, which is on our links too, which is an industrial strength. But because we want to get this finished in a timely fashion, E6000 takes, it would take all night to dry, and I don't want them popping off, so I'm sure it'll be a nice, it'll adhere quite nicely. Okay, and then I'm just going to leave this plain in the back, and I'm going to glue down my little bundle of fabrics. And this is going to flop back and forth, which I think is going to be so cool. And then I have this little piece of fabric that I might want to poke in here so that it hangs down. No, I don't. I want clothing for women to show up. Okay. Very fun, very cool. We're going to let this dry. Alrighty then. So we've got it all glued in. Everything's glued down. I really love the way it looks. I'm glad we picked the pluses instead of the crosses, because the book is going to be not a challenge by a cross, but definitely a plus to create some really beautiful things in here. So now we're going to work on a piece to go into the string journal. So a lovely friend sent me some wonderful pieces, and I wanted to use them today in this work, and so I still can't decide really which one I want to use, but just some pieces of that. And then I know you like looking at the bits, so I've got some papers, some fabrics, and some pieces. This is a piece that I stitched. Really love that piece. And some little papers. And I think this is a photocopy of an old wallpaper piece, which is kind of cool. And then I'm going to use cotty paper, and then I'm going to mount them into the book rather than working on the page. Now, we could just take the page out and work on it, but you know how I want to keep the book intact while it's drying. So I'm just going to set most of this stuff aside. I've got a whole bag here of goodie things to go through and decide which pieces to use. But the first choice is deciding which one of these to use. And I know that you guys like color. You know, I would go with this, but I know you guys like color. Maybe I'll finish this later and share it on Facebook or something. But I think we're going to use this one. So we're going to work on putting that one together with some of these bits. And we're going to put it on cotty. And if you don't have cotty paper, we have that in the links too. And it is 100% recycled, made from cotton rag. Super soft and easy to stitch through, and it is archival. Okay, so I like this, but we've got to do some fun things with it. So we're going to play around with it, and maybe we'll use a bit. Ooh, thought that was in there. I'm going to have to make sure that that's glued in. Play around with some of the bits, fabrics, lace. I love this piece, isn't that yummy? So we might use that on the background. So we're going to play with that and see what we like. Let's see. Well, I thought I would just kind of play around with these and see. I really like the color of this. It might not work for this, but that's fine. I can use it for something else if I decide to. If I decide I don't like it, but I really love this piece. I think is so cool. And I don't want it to be about the ladies. I want the ladies to be in there, but it isn't about them. It's about the sewing. It's about the fabrics. It's about the fabric and the paper coming together to tell their own story. So that's what it's about, and that's the story that I want to tell. And so I just don't think this makes any sense with it, so I'm going to put that away. I like this gray fabric and this yummy over-dyed piece of silk. It is pretty too. That's kind of expected. Okay, we're just going to keep playing with it. Ooh, I like this. Opera and du Act. Put that there maybe. This piece. I don't know, maybe like this. That. It's got a hole in it. It can be hidden back there. No, maybe this. Ooh, I kind of like that. Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like this one too, but yeah, no. This is kind of cool. So we've got old, new, stitched paper. We've got lots of texture going on here. Okay, so I'm going to start gluing this down. Okay, I love this piece under here, but I don't want to use the whole thing. I don't want to hide the whole thing underneath here. So I'm going to rip it so that I've got the rest of it to use for something else. I know that so often I see artists just using up supplies and materials, and you know, if you just think about where you want to place things. See, it just doesn't make any sense to just cover that, to hide that all up underneath there if you're just going to cover it up, right? If this is going to go here, then why would you use the whole thing? Plus, it'll just make your piece so much bulkier. So, and we don't want to do that. We want it to have texture, but not necessarily bulk. So, okay, so like this, like this, like this. Okay, it's coming together nicely. Okay, so you know, we live in Florida and we're expecting a storm this afternoon, and so we are experiencing light changes. Normally we have, you know, we have real bright, happy sun, and then now we're going to get a big storm. So it's going to look a little dark. So sorry about that. Okay, so this is going to go across here. These are going to go here, and this is a really good start. Now, I'm not sure that this is actually finished, but I think what I'm going to have to do is end up putting some stitches on here, but you get the idea, right? Yeah. I like this. This looks good. Alrighty then, so then I'll end up poking it into the book, and I'm thinking about making little pockets to go here. We won't do that today, but that's probably what we'll end up doing, something like that, a pocket, or I might even stitch them into the page. Now that would be really cool, wouldn't it? Well, we're almost at chow for now. Next time, actually I'm working on several videos. I want to make some tiny little string journals with different fabrics and different things. So that's on the list. And then the other thing I've been playing with is natural dyes again, and I have been experimenting and keeping them in the sun to see which ones are light fast rather than color fast. The fabrics seem to be doing really well. The paper's a little less well, but I can't wait to share that with you. And so I've got a couple of things in the works for you, and I just want to express my heartfelt feelings to everyone who is dealing with this virus, and we are saying prayers for people. I'm sure you are, holding good thoughts, and hoping that everyone stays well and healthy. I send you my love. Take good care of yourselves and be well. I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.